My name is Anna Boghiguian. I was born in Cairo in 1946 in Heliopolis, which is a suburb outside Cairo, of ethnic Armenian origin. And when I was in my early 20s, I migrated and lived for a long time in Canada. And that's where I grew up as an artist and I developed my artwork. I worked a lot with watercolor. I played a lot with crayons, paint with acrylic, and then I painted a lot with pigments and wax. My earliest memory of Cairo is that I was born here when I was a child. And it was a different kind of Cairo than now, because it was less populated. And the air was cleaner, and there were a lot of smell at night when you walked. There was the smell of jasmine and fol, which is this flower, which you can see a lot in Egypt. It was very beautiful. I went to kindergarten in the Armenian school. It was very nice. And we used to have very interesting birthday parties where everybody would have feathers on their hair and they would have a cake with a lot of colored candles, but I couldn't have one because on the day of my birthday, the school was having holiday. So I didn't have at all one of those birthday parties, but I enjoyed watching them because they were very colorful. Eventually, I graduated from kindergarten, and one day we were walking with my mother on the street, going to the market. The radio was always very loud in those days, and suddenly the radio stopped the music and it says, "The king has been exiled. The revolution has happened." And it wasn't a very big surprise, because when I was a child, there were a lot of demonstrations. And one day, we saw people with fires and they were burning the Cairo, which is a very mystical, a very destructive kind of memory, to see the world being burned down and people going out of their minds, screaming, hysterically, as if they are completely chained to their heavy weight. And they want to jump out of this heavy weight, and they don't know how to. So to burn is quite a symbolic action. That is how it stopped, and then a few days later, or a few years, I can't remember, the king was exiled. The military took over. Gamal Abdel Nasser. First it was Naguib, and it was the end, in many ways, of the British rule. And during Abdel Nasser, there was places that you could go in, which was the Arab Socialist Union offices, and you could ask to listen to a Beethoven. And they would get you the records, and you could sit there and listen the whole day. So there was some kind of cultural life, and there was a Ministry of Culture who was very open to opening people's minds towards the latest events in the global world, rather than being limited. And they were encouraging a lot the existentialists, assuming the existentialists were people who resisted. They had resistance towards the enemy. So they had a lot of books by Sartre and Camus and Simone de Beauvoir. Then they came to Egypt, and they spoke at the Cairo University, where I went in 1968. It was an interesting episode that I can never forget. I was very interested in art. and in painting and in art in general. I was very impressed when I was a child with these books that you open and it pops up. I had several of them, and I was always fascinated by the cutouts of them. So you see, it grew in my mind. You know, there are things that go into your mind and you don't know who has inspired you suddenly, and then you grow up one day, you say, this is where it came from. Well, I have to make research to know about certain subjects so that I can develop this story in my mind. I make research before, and of a subject matter, then I go into a long process, like you said, talking, and then I sit down and I do the drawings, big drawings, and then I cut them, and then I paint them with encaustic. It's not a question of expressing yourself. The question is to have the synchronization, to put your thoughts and your material united, to express it on a piece of paper or on a canvas or anything. And that kind of synchronization takes a long time. To find up your mind, to find an image that fits to your thought, and how to develop that concept. Art is healing art for me is a healing process, because whenever I go to a hospital and I get my pencil and my paper and I start drawing, I recover. So it has a power of healing for me, power of giving me positive energy. So it is important. It was a time I wanted to be a writer. To be a writer, you have to know language. And I felt my language was very limited, and I didn't think that I had the imagination of being too much of words. But I was fascinated with literature because it creates imageries in your mind. So I write sentences in my work, and I feel that to be in, instead of words, images is the same thing, because the line of the writing and the line of drawing and the line of music is the same. They are related. My self-portrait, here, at age 34. Well, I was just drawing. I didn't have anything inside me, but I was traveling a lot. I was going a lot to India. And my motivation was to make enough money to go back to India and to travel in Asia. This is a sculpture that I paint. I did a mural in there. Well, when I travel, I think that drawing is going in a travel in your unconscious or your consciousness or your subconscious. It's a constant trip that you have inside your body, in yourself, a search of your own person, the different facets of your personality, and how you can see yourself and be. Because it's a curiosity to see the world and to continue on seeing the world in a global manner, circular, rather than in a static manner, while traveling just with your mind and more illusions, more memory, more creation and fabrications of what through books, through maps, etc. If you are interested in the world, or you just forget that there exists a world outside your world, and you survive in this little apartment, which becomes a world, while the global world is gone. The sale is about travel, it's canvas, and it's the canvas that painters use. So it's a painting that moves, which is more interesting. And I said it's the canvas is hand painted, the ones that I paint on, it's handcrafted and woven by people in a village and sewn together by sailors, so it has a different facade of life. And that's why I like it. It also, you can hang it anywhere, you don't have to hang it on the wall. It can go down from anywhere, it can be seen anywhere. I'm very interested in travel. I like movement. Of we are here, we go there. It is very fascinating because everything that moves, which is here, goes there. And there changes. So it's all about transformation and metamorphosis, which is part of life. I mean, I'm a tourist everywhere. I go to Armenia, and I'm treated as a foreigner. And I come here, they always think that I am not like an Egyptian because the way I talk, the way I dress, the way I relate, the way I am. And in Canada, they treat me like an Egyptian because they don't know what is an Egyptian. So they treat, but I think this is all ridiculous stories. So everywhere people treat you as a stranger, which is a very positive thing. Because if you do not belong, you belong to yourself. And you are not within the current of the common mass. This is how I say. And Simone de Beauvoir has said, you know her, she has said, if you are in a country where you don't understand the language of people around you, then you are there within yourself and yourself. Everything we do is historically important. The world, we are affected by the conditions of the politics and the strategy of the country you are in. I mean, to cross a border, the country you are visiting has to be, first of all, in good harmony with your country. Otherwise, you are not let in. You can be a person non grata with one passport, and you can be a person who is taken in with a lot of honor and privilege from another passport. It doesn't mean that the person is different. It's just the country that protects you is different. So it's a question of because you represent and are protected by a country. So that country is the one that operates your way of living, politics, history. Like the last work that I did was the work of the sunken boat, and it is about in reality the work is about the unconscious and the subconscious of the human being. It's like you dive in yourself to find yourself, and you find a lot of histories and situations that you had forgotten. It's like a boat that is sunk, and it has in itself a lot of memories, a lot of objects, a lot of episodes that we don't know of and it's forgotten. And suddenly we encounter a boat in the Red Sea which has Buddha images. And Egypt is not a Buddha place. And it's very interesting from where this boat came. Most probably it came from Kashmir, where there was the Buddhist Buddha painters, maybe, that they went down to the Suez Canal, but then how did this come? And it sank, the boat. So where was this boat going? Where was it coming from? Why was it carrying those images? You search in yourself, and you are, and then in the sea, under the sea, you have the life, the corals, the fish, etc. And then you have all these boats that have sunk with prisoners in, with slaves in, with travelers, with objects, and then you have the internet, and then there is the Soviet and the American conflict even under the sea. So there is a whole world which is projected in under the sea that we do not see. And then there is the concept of the climate change, and then the seas are retrieving or swallowing, but the earth, for example, Alexandria, part of Alexandria was allocated from land which was under the sea. So the sea was sent back, and they have taken the land. So the sea will come and take back its land. Well, I'm 80, going to be 80. I just know that I live very separate from the world in many ways. I have created my own illusionary boundaries, and I have no brothers, no father, no living relatives around me, so I don't have to be under the phenomena. The world is patriarchal, but one has to be aware of the patriarchy. So you have to know how to navigate through it. You cannot change the world, but the world will get changed eventually, itself. I want to pick up parts of the world, a period of the world, and I want to reconstruct them to today and what has happened. This is what I think about a certain part of my work. It's about the human condition, which is my condition, really. Life is poetic, and it can also be vile, but even ugliness can be poetic. It depends how we look at the world. Garbage is filthy, but filth can also be beauty. It depends, because we have to have filth in order to have cleanliness. We cannot have cleanliness without having dirt. We cannot be kind without experiencing evil. We cannot be wise without being dumb. I think so. There are things we don't understand. Anyway, I think that it is enough for today.